Hey everybody, welcome back. So as I indicated the last time, I'm going to show you the two armies I have yet to actually show, as I did the last couple of times I've done this, where I showed you the armies in the first Warhammer game, and then I showed you the four factions that they added in 2, and then they added a couple another big ones. The Vampire Coast and the Tomb Kings. So first, we're going to take a look at the Vampire Coast army, and then we'll switch over and take a look at the Tomb Kings. I picked a desert type of map, hoping that it'll be bright, and that there won't be anything in the way in terms of debris or trees or anything, but we'll see. A lot of units on the field here, so this could be funny. What's hilarious is I look over here and I see all of this. I'm just like, oh gosh. So yeah, I wonder if I'm about to have some interesting frame rate issues. My settings aren't up that high. Alright, so it still looks pretty decent, actually. Alright, everybody. Line up. There we go. Whoops. Alright. So, as we had known before, let's kind of just move from one side to the other. So, these are the Rotting Promethean Gunnery mob, or at least this is the Regiments of Renown version, the Lamprey's Revenge. Lovely looking things, aren't they? Creatures here, and then you see these guys here on top. Oh, we got him in our sights, boss. Yeah. Over here we have Fellbat. Or no, these are deck droppers. Excuse me. They're basically, you can see they're bats carrying, deck droppers there. That's why these are flying missile cavalry, because you can see the bayonets that they have. Okay, so I should point out, this is the Regiments of Renown version. This is the regular version of the Rotting Promethean's Gunnery mob. Okay, so these are not as spread out as I thought they were. These are the... So, that is the Regiments of Renown version. This is the regular version with the hand cannons. These are the bombers. And then these are the pistol cavalry, the deck droppers. This is a Rotting Leviathan. Lovely looking thing, isn't it? Just lovely. You see the guys on top. Yeah, it's got a ship there. It's using like the remains of a ship as its shell with some guys on there to be able to, that's why it has ammunition, because those guys can fire. This thing, this is a Regiment's Renown of a Necro Sphinx Colossus called Gallows Giant. You can see these guys here with their weapons ready to fire, but this thing is a giant, yeah, with its own big weapon right there. Yeah. Of course, this is a Terrorgeist. You guys remember this from the Vampire Count's army. The Death Shriek Terrorgeist. This is a regular Necro Sphinx Colossus. Such an interesting thing, isn't it? These are Night Terrors. Regiment versions of Mongols. And boy, aren't they a lovely sight. These are Rotting Prometheans. smaller versions of what you saw earlier. These are regular Mongols. Oh my gosh. Look at that. There's like no lower half. Ugh. Yeah, this is an army that could easily grow throughout. Speaking of being grossed out, animated hulks. Look at that. My goodness. Scurvy dogs. Yes, seriously. A bloated corpse. These are exploding monsters. Yeah, these are basically kamikaze units, so you just send them in to just explode and destroy an infantry units of an army. Yep, that's pretty much what it is. Fellbats, of course, return. These are the Shade Wraith Gunners, regiment versions of Deck Gunners. You can see one guy is holding the minigun and another guy is carrying the box of ammo. The Black Spot. Regiment renowned versions of the Zombie Pirate Gunnery Mob Handguns. These are regular Deck Gunners. Again, don't worry, boss, I got the box of ammo right behind you. These are Zombie Pirate Gunnery Mob hand cannons. Yep, big hand cannons right there. Zombie Pirate Gunnery Mob handguns. You know, basically look like bayonets with the weapon, you know, blade at the end. Here are Zombie Pirate Gunnery Mob's bombers. Just ready to toss a whole bunch of grenades and such. And these are regular Zombie Pirate Gunnery Mobs, with weapons as well as pistols. Over here we've got some halberd infantry, the Bloody Reaver Deck Guard, which this is a regiment version of what is known as Depth Guards. These are pretty strong. Like, some of the other units are like kind of like meat shield type of units early on, but when you get later on in the campaign, these are some of the really strong infantry, melee infantry units that you want in your army. And boy, do they look awesome. They look like they're from like a very militant version of Atlantis. Kind of like what you would see in like the Aquaman movie, if they were like really militarized. Like, look at these guys. These are the polearm versions of the Depth Guard. Look at that armor. That armor looks awesome. Pretty cool looking weapons too. Like, this is what I would expect from a very militarized version of Atlantis, like in the Aquaman movie. Pretty awesome. Look at these. These are Berserk Axe Infantry versions of the Depth Guard. That's awesome. These are Sirens. Of course, there has to be Sirens. They're melee infantry. These are the Tide of Scold, Zombie Pirate Deckhands Mob. Dual hand or dual sword infantry, regiment versions. Halberd infantry, Zombie Pirate Deckhands Mob pole arms. And dual sword infantry of the Zombie Pirate Deckhands Mob. Just regular versions. We'll get them, boss. We'll get them. This is a Mongol Haunter. This is a melee specialist. He's actually one of the hero units that you can get. Ugh, gosh. Imagine seeing something like that. That's the stuff of nightmares right there. This is a hero unit. That's a zombie, or not a zombie, a vampire fleet captain specialized in vampires. You can get a couple different versions. And he's riding a Promethean as his mount. We've got a Gunnery White. This is another hero unit. He's a support specialist. That's also his mount. Over here we have one of our legendary lords. This is one of the leaders of the Vampire Coast faction. That is Luther Hawken. He is a hybrid weapon infantry because he can use melee weapons as well as, of course, use a a gun, because of course he's a pirate, of course. And he has a Terrorgeist mount. Yeah. So then we get to some other really cool artillery units. This is a giant siege artillery unit, a big cannon. It's called Queen Bess. And it is deadly. It is so powerful. It is an amazing artillery unit. This thing will annihilate stuff in your army. These are carronades, another really good artillery unit. And mortars. So, mortars are pretty nice. Carronades are even better. And if you are able to have a Queen Bess, oh, you're going to be so better for it. But yeah, if you can get a bunch of carronades or mortars, oh, it is quite a sight. So that is the Vampire Coast. Let's go ahead and end the battle here. And we'll switch over and I'll show you the Tomb King's army. You'll have to give me a minute to set it up, though. Okay. Just generic Tomb King. Does Archon have a mount? Oh yeah, he's got Tep, he's got the casket. She has a Necro Serpent. A steed, a War Sphinx, and a Chariot. I actually think the War Sphinx is a cooler mount for Cetra. I don't know about you, but I'd rather ride a giant War Sphinx than a Chariot. If you don't know what a War Sphinx is, don't worry. I will show you in just a moment. Alright. Three different Lich Priests. Alright. The constructs. Look at how many there are. And those are awesome. An army of constructs is like, yes! Campaign exclusives. Don't need that. Really only just need one Lich Priest to show you. Just to get across the idea of what they look like. But yeah, you guys know that I love armies of big monster units. And so the constructs are pretty awesome. And one of the reasons I really enjoyed playing as the Tomb Kings when they came out. Just having an army, you know, of giant constructs, it was just like, oh my gosh, yes. Alright, everybody line up. Alright. So, first, we have the magical artillery unit known as the Casket of Souls. Yeah, it's a casket, kind of playing on the you know, the Lost Ark, with on top of a pile of skeletons, with this guy basically opening up to have souls come out of it as artillery ammunition. I am not joking. And this right here is one of the first examples as to why I love the construct and, you know, monster, quote unquote, aspect of the Tomb Kings. Look at this thing. This is a regiment version of a Necro Sphinx, which is this thing right here. So you've got the Necro Sphinx here. Look at this thing. Look at those big blades as arms. And this is the regiment version called the Sphinx of Yusuf. I don't know how to pronounce that. Forgive me. And then we have the Hero... the Hero Titan. I'll just call it the Hero Titan. Look at this thing. It's another big construct with these. With, you know, it's a magical monster. You can see the energy going through the constructs. This is a War Sphinx. Cambrian? A Cambrian War Sphinx. It's another big construct like that. With some archers on top. But yeah. My goodness. We've got the regiment versions of Necropolis Knights, called the Venom Knights of Asaph, which are monstrous cavalry. Again, forgive me for mispronouncing these things. Necropolis Knights Halberd versions. Yeah. So, forget steeds and horses, ride those things. This is another specialist artillery. This is a bone giant with a gigantic bow. Yes, I'm serious. This is an artillery unit. A gigantic bone giant construct with just a gigantic bow. And he shoots giant arrows. I just love that. Necropolis Knights, more monstrous cavalry. Monstrous infantry, Sepulchre Stalkers. These are regiment versions known as the Eyes of the Desert. We've got regiment versions of the Ushabti Great Bow, monstrous missile infantry. You notice a lot of these constructs are not moving. They don't really have idle movements because they're constructs. They're basically magically, gifted statues with giving the ability to actually move. These are Sepulchre Stalkers. These are Great Bow Ushabti. This is a Tomb Scorpion. Yep, another awesome looking monster unit. A construct. Yep. These are regular Ushabti. These kind of probably look familiar if you've seen some of those mummy movies. Like, you probably have seen something similar to this anyway. With the way they hold those weapons and such. Yeah. These are Carians. Actually, these are Carians. And these are the regiment versions known as the Flock of Jaff. Flying Warbeasts. Again, forgive me for mispronouncing these. Skeleton Archer Chariots. Missile chariot units. Missile cavalry known as the Skeleton Horseman Archers. You can see these are little, skeletons riding on top of skeleton horses. Here we've got Nehekra Horsemen, which are just cavalry units. These are the Storm Riders of Kassar. I assume these are... Oh, these are the campaign exclusive ones. Skeleton Chariots. Yep, Skeleton Chariots. Nakara Horsemen. More Skeleton Horsemen. Spears. Spear Cavalry. These are upgraded Skeleton Archer regiment versions known as the Blessed Legion of... I don't even know how to pronounce that. Hakta? I don't know. They're really powerful skeleton archers. I'll just say that. These are the regular skeleton archers. These are regiment versions of Tomb Guards known as the Kepra God. Yeah. These are the regiment versions of Nakara warriors, known as Usurian's Legion of the Netherworld. At least I'm trying to pronounce these. Yeah, Nether version, so. Tomb Guards, Halberd versions. Big shields, pretty strong. I think so, anyway. Tomb Guards, with swords. Skeleton Spearmen regiment versions known as King Nekesh's Scorpion Legion. Regular Nehekara warriors. Skeleton Spearmen. skeleton warriors. You can pretty much sense an ongoing theme here, right? This is a Tomb Prince. He's a halberd infantry hero unit with a chariot mount. This is a Necrotect, and a whip infantry unit with a chariot mount. This is a death version of a Lich Priest. He's riding a skeletal steed. And this is one of our legendary lords for the Tomb Kings, known as Cetra the Imperishable. And I have him on a War Sphinx mount instead of his chariot, because I personally think riding a War Sphinx looks cooler than a chariot. But that's just me. And then we have another artillery unit known as the Screaming Skull Catapults. Yeah. Alright, so that is the army of the Tomb Kings and the army of the Vampire Coast. Pretty gruesome looking armies, but some of them have some awesome units in there that just make you go, oh my gosh, yes. Like having these guys, you know, these guys right here in your army is awesome. I love the constructs of this army. Really cool looking and really powerful too. It'd be one thing if they were weak, but they're not. They're not weak. They are strong. You have some of these guys, especially a Necro Sphinx, get into the opposing army, and it just tears them up. It is so fun to watch. So, those are the two armies, and that's going to lead into me showing you the intros for playing as them in the Eye of the Vortex campaign, where they each have their own different thing going on that has nothing to do with the Vortex. And I'll show you that when we return. Stay tuned.